Hi there, welcome to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm. And I think it's time for us women to shift the conversation in business and step into our feminine leadership to do the most iconic work the aesthetic industry has ever seen. Each week, I'll be bringing a powerful dose of strategy, sarcasm, solutions, and sass that will rev up your creativity and ignite your brilliance as you link arms with me along our shared path of personal and professional growth in 20 minutes or less. Let's go. Hello, Fierce Leader. Welcome back to the Fierce Factor podcast. I'm your host, Kaylee Lindholm, the founder of KLC Consulting and the POP Aesthetic Leadership Academy, where we are on a mission to help 100 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year, aka you, sister. Hop on board and join us. But I'm coming at you today, speaking of making a ton of money and having success in your business, y'all know it takes really great people. And today I am bringing to you part 2 of a series of podcasts that I'm going to be releasing over the next few weeks related to the business trauma happening in the area of staffing aesthetic practices. What we know is that essentially the supply and demand for minimum and medium wage workers is completely out of whack. We started this series last week. I brought to you the general manager of the $3 billion In-N-Out Burger to talk about processes and procedures and systems. And I want to talk today a little bit about incentivization. I mean, just as you're listening to this, think to yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love the process of talking compensation with your employees? Seriously, 1 being you hate it, 10 being you obsess over it. I'm guessing most of you are probably around a 1 to 2. I know I am. It's not a fun part of the whole hiring process, but it doesn't actually have to be that painful. And I understand that COVID has introduced some new challenges. Through my experience working with hundreds of thriving businesses, I'm very familiar with the fact that as Millennial and Gen Z enters the workforce, employers are experiencing a significant shift in core motivations. It's not all about COVID. The whole landscape of hiring has changed. And the bottom line is, you don't need to pay money for me to tell you that an engaged, enthusiastic, and onboard team is critical to your success. I'll never forget a few years back while I was running my multidisciplinary aesthetic institute, I was looking for a strong employee to work the front office, answer phones, greet clients, manage the schedule, manage the intake and outtake process, collect payments, right? An important role, right? So I went through my standard hiring process. I asked for a 1-minute video, an explanation of why someone would want to work for our company, their key skill sets and motivations. And finally, I took a phone call with someone who had been referred to me by a trusted source. She went through the process like everyone else. We ended up on the phone, and the first question out of her mouth, I cannot make this stuff up, you guys. How much vacation time can I get? Huh? It's like she didn't even want to talk about the role. She didn't ask one question about compensation or daily activities. It was all about how much could she not work before she even started the job. Here's the reality. Long gone are the days where monetary bonuses and commissions are the best way to keep employees motivated. It's really all about having clarity around your vision, enrolling employees into that vision, and knowing exactly what actually motivates your people. That is how you'll be able to take the guesswork and the headaches and all of that drama out of this whole employee incentive conversation. Fortune magazine came out with their 100 best companies to work for issue, and they shared powerful results that the majority of employees are actually not motivated by compensation at all. They are driven by recognition, by growth, and fun. Does this surprise you? I mean, the good news is motivating employees doesn't have to be a challenge anymore, right? Because employees, they just can't be motivated. I tell a story in episode number 13. It's called The Best Comp Plan to Motivate an Employee. If you haven't checked that out, go back and listen to it. We have an Academy client who recently developed a private label skincare line, created an e-commerce platform to launch his retail products. Consequently, he asked his front office coordinator, who is uniquely responsible for answering calls, booking appointments, checking out patients, basically frontline customer service, to sell products at checkout. Pretty basic, right? Well, after 2 weeks, she hadn't sold one product. And so the manager had a conversation with her about her responsibility to sell. And she said, look, it's just not part of my job description. And I just don't feel comfortable being salesy. So they incentivized her with a generous 10% commission on sales revenue. Guess how many she sold the next week? 0. So looking at this, the reality is the issue was not the compensation plan. The issue was the employee. So here's the central idea. You don't actually need to pay more for passionate, engaged employees who will contribute to your success. We know we need great people, but keeping them motivated is hard, right? Well, that's what I thought until I learned the secret to hiring for one thing: passion. When I think of how to best incentivize employees, I really turn to 3 guiding principles. Number 1, hire the intrapreneur. Number 2, lead with mission. And number 3, master key drivers. So first and foremost, it requires making a powerful mindset shift around how we view employees in our company by hiring intrapreneurs. When you hire for ambition, you can teach an employee how to do the things you need. But when you hire for the things, you can't teach them how to get excited about doing them. So let's talk about this whole idea of the employee versus the intrapreneur. There's a huge difference here. Intrapreneurs are driven by upward mobility. They are innately self-motivated. They take pride in the work they do. Whereas employees, they clock in, they clock out. In order to create a growth and contribution-based culture, employees need to be held accountable to executing tasks that fuel profitability for the company. You may already have amazing people, but they might not even be clear on what activities will produce growth for the organization. And why does this happen? There really are truly 3 common pitfalls that prevent us from successfully hiring intrapreneurs into our team. Number 1, we tend to automatically make hiring all about the money. Number 2, we overpay upfront. Number 3, we match the compensation of the last employer. In our academy, we teach something called the 4X principle, which means each employee produces revenue equivalent to 4 times their annual salary. With the right team member and clear, concise performance expectations, you can map out their growth plan and their incentive plans with confidence and clarity. Remember, the reason we hire people, it's to produce a result. When we're thinking about incentivization, we should be thinking about activities that lead to that result and how to stimulate more of those activities. The second guiding principle to incentivization in today's hiring climate is to build a purpose-driven business to align employees with your personal brand, meaning lead with mission. We over here at KLC are on a mission to help 100 inspiring and intentional women cross the next $1 million milestone in their business this year. What's your company vision? Sell the dream. What kind of impact is your company making on lives? Today's employees are looking to put their fingerprint on the world and make an impact. Don't downplay your mission. Highlight it. When your mission is greater than you, even greater than your employee, your team can all align toward a purpose that they can get behind for their own reasons. Principle number 3 is to determine key drivers for each employee. Remember that every human has different core desires. It always fascinates me when a small business owner asks me to send them a comp plan. Remember, we're hiring human beings, not robots. And so in order for a comp plan to be effective, it must consider elements of the human experience. So that's why when I'm creating an incentive plan, I actually don't just jump into the bonus conversation. Instead, I start to think about and evaluate what I call the 5 business love languages, which helps me really get to think about, evaluate, and get to know my employees and what makes them feel appreciated. The 5 business love languages being words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and cash. And I have to tell you, I'm seeing a big trend in our industry actually move away from commissions, which can be illegal in many states, or even bonuses, but focus more on a strong salary with a clear performance indicator and a mindful leader who is willing to take the time to focus on the little things. Some of the little things actually mean more to employees than any of the big things. So here's some examples. Maybe doing an employee of the month celebration or sending flowers to an employee, writing handwritten thank you notes, investing in little surprises or hiding little things here and there, even surprising them with a bonus rather than just having an ongoing bonus structure, giving them a raise, but giving them a big bonus as a surprise, giving them special recognition in front of their peers that they didn't expect, paid time off or a vacation. Even consistent feedback is really great value to an employee and makes them feel significant and special because they're being recognized and they're having that special touch point from their boss or their leader so they know whether they're doing a great job or not. Team dinners, investing in training programs for them, or giving them aesthetic treatments, or putting a whole program in place that would incentivize them and allow them to invest in aesthetic treatments. The bottom line is that incentivization today has changed. It is not all about the money. It is really about the employee. It's about the employee's needs. And I think what you can take away from this, COVID and all, is that you can go back to your practice and to the hiring table feeling so much more empowered. You don't have to sacrifice high quality hiring because you're concerned about your ability to afford the best. You deserve the best. And you are creative and thoughtful. Go negotiate. Hire for passion. Seek out intrapreneurs through strategic talent acquisition. Lead with your vision and learn your key employee drivers. And finally, create incentive plans that align the needs of the company with that of your employee. You've got this, leader. Thanks for tuning in today, and I will see you next week. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Fierce Factor. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe so you can automatically get new shows every week. I'd also love it if you left us a review. And come join the conversation online. If you're an aesthetic industry owner, operator, or leader, please join my free Facebook group, The Tribe of Fierce Aesthetic Leaders, a community of ambitious, purpose-driven professionals who collaborate and share best practices for growth in business and life. I'm honored you tuned in.